As a lifelong reader, I have come across books of many different subject matters. Many of them have either stories that serve a purpose of teaching morals that can be applied to everyday life to the reader, offer information that exists in real life, like in nonfiction books that the reader can use in his or her everyday lives as well. Another kind of book are ones that contain stories that exist merely to entertain and offer fun to the reader, without any educational value whatsoever. The book that I'm going to be reviewing today falls in this category, especially suited for the youngest children who are just starting to learn to read. The book that I'm going to be reviewing today is called Follow the Monsters, which is a Sesame Street book, part of the Step Into Reading series. It was written by Sharon Lerner and illustrated by Tom Cook. The story begins with the narration introducing us to the monsters in the Sesame Street universe. It tells us to follow these monsters wherever they go, whether they're slow and fast, as well as introducing the various monsters that we'll be following throughout this book, including ones of various colors, an elderly one, and even a cute baby one in a carriage. Oh, isn't that cute? If you look through the illustrations, you can even recognize some familiar main character monsters among the generic ones, which include Hairy Monster, Grover Monster, Razzle the Red Monster, and of course, Cookie Monster. I'm surprised that Elmo was not included in this group of monsters in the story, given the fact that he's a well-known monster character as well. But since this book was published in 1985, before the time that Elmo became a prominent character on Sesame Street, I can see why he wasn't included in this book. The monsters begin their journey from out of the country and into the town. Where did they come from and where are they going? To answer the first question, we don't really know. The story doesn't establish it beyond the generic detail just from the country. And to answer the second question, you'll see as the story goes on, so stay tuned. Once they get into the city, the group of monsters take a bus to the center of the city. From there, they all pack themselves like sardines into an elevator within the building, and we are introduced to more monsters, such as a tall one, and a fat one, and a skinny one. The skinny one, I'm assuming, judging from this illustration, is Grover. We see that the monsters have taken the elevator to the roof of the building and are enjoying the view from high up. After that, the monsters, I'm assuming, took the elevator down from the roof of the building and went out of the building, because now the story shows the monsters climbing down a manhole and make their way underground of the city. I would like to comment on how well illustrated this moment of the story is, where we see that, even when it gets very dark at night in the city, it doesn't stop the group of monsters from continuing the travel to meet their goal to reach their destination. What makes it very well illustrated is how very well detailed the silhouettes of the monsters are, right down to their body languages and facial expressions. It's also well illustrated when the story shows the monsters still traveling when morning comes, and they all look tired and dragging themselves. It certainly shows how determined these monsters are to get where they're going. The monsters decide to take a break and have lunch at a diner, appropriately called Monster Eats. What a nice place to see that. It seems like it's made just for the monsters to eat at. They order a large sandwich, which they all share and eat quite awkwardly, judging from this illustration. And for dessert, they eat their plates and cups. Seeing Cookie Monster eat the plate and cup in this illustration reminds me of the scene in the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where Willy Wonka drinks from buttercup flower, and after he finishes a drink, he takes a bite out of the buttercup. I wonder what the cup and plate would taste like to these monsters. Probably not like much, I would imagine. After eating, the monsters are still tired from their journey, but they're still determined to reach their destination. One monster shows the others a hot air balloon, and wanting to rest their feet, the group of monsters all cram themselves into the basket of the hot air balloon, and they all fly off to their destination until they reach it. Can you guess what their destination is? If you said Sesame Street, you're absolutely right. They are greeted by Big Bird, Ernie, Bert, and Oscar the Grouch, who help bring the hot air balloon down so they can land and come into Sesame Street. and thus ends the monster's journey in the story of Follow the Monsters. The end. My final thoughts on this book. I must say, this is one fun and enjoyable book to read. As mentioned before, there is really no moral or lesson to be had in this story, and given the target audience for this book of preschool to first grade children, I can see how the author wanted to keep things fun and simple for children who are just starting to learn to read. What better way to do that than with a band of monsters from the Sesame Street universe? It's not really established why this group of monsters is making this journey to Sesame Street, especially since the familiar monster characters like Cookie Monster are already living there and know what it's like. Maybe they will serve as tour guides for the generic monsters whom we haven't seen in this series before. Who knows? The story is very simplistic, which is a perfect fit for the target audience. But however, for adults like myself, I would say that this story is too simplistic and become kind of boring and unstimulating for a while. But I'm willing to overlook that fact in order for the charmness of this story to really shine through for all audiences, not just for preschool to first grade children. What do I think of the illustrations of this book? Well, as usual for Tom Cook's art style, they are gorgeous, and they really illustrate the situations very well. I especially like the designs of the generic monster characters that are featured within the story, and how they travel throughout the story as well. In fact, I would say that this story is so well illustrated that, even without the text, I can understand entirely what's going on, even without any words. And I think that's the point of this story, to really make the story so simple that for kids who can read, they can simply understand what's going on in the story just by looking at the pictures. So, as usual, good job, Tom Cook. You really made some beautiful illustrations to illustrate this charming book. Finally, would I recommend this book to others? Yes, I would, especially to the target audience of preschool to first grade children. It's a perfect book for them to begin reading with, as well as to read with the adults in their lives. And adults like myself can get some enjoyment out of it too, watching the monsters travel through a lot to get to Sesame Street, which is a very well-known place. And if you can find this book, pick it up and see for yourself. I hope you enjoyed my review of Follow the Monsters. And if you have any suggestions for reviews for my book channel, for my review videos, feel free to leave them for me in the comments below. Please comment, share my video, and subscribe to my channel as well. Have a nice day, everyone, and thank you very much for watching.